At my graduation, my father shouted that I didn't deserve anything. I replied, "Then let her take care of your debts." And everything exploded. I'm Louisa, I'm 24 years old, and I just graduated with a law degree from a university in the south of England. What should have been the most important day of my life turned into a humiliating spectacle that left everyone in silence, and my family completely shattered. But to understand why everything fell apart so brutally at my graduation, I need to tell you how we got there. Because this isn't just a family fight. It's something deeper. Something that had been building up for years beneath the surface, like a bomb no one wanted to acknowledge, until it exploded. For as long as I can remember, I always knew I was the other one. They never said it outright, but you could see it in the looks, the gestures, the comparisons. I was the younger daughter. My sister Amelia, 2 years older, was Dad's favorite from day one. She was always everything he wanted me to be: blonde, outgoing, athletic, charismatic, good with numbers. I was quieter. I liked to read, draw, escape into my own world. To him, that meant weakness. We lived in Nottingham, in a typical dark brick terraced house, with a backyard that looked nice from a distance, but was full of nettles. That's where I spent my childhood learning not to bother anyone, not to make noise, not to be a problem. My father, Thomas Greaves, thought of himself as a righteous man. Old-fashioned, he said proudly. What that really meant was that he made all the decisions, had the final word, and any disagreement was a personal attack. My mother, Susan, was softer, more conciliatory, but also weaker. She never stood up to him. She just tried to keep him from yelling at us. Amelia had a special place in his heart. Since she was little, she was my champion, as he called her. When she won swimming medals, he hung them in the living room. When she got good grades, they went out to dinner to celebrate. I won a spelling bee when I was 8, best in the district. My mother bought me an ice cream and hugged me. My father, without looking up from the newspaper, said, "That's useless if you can't multiply without a calculator." When Amelia turned 16, he bought her an iPhone. When I turned 16, he gave me a pair of thermal socks so you don't complain about the cold when walking to school. That's not a joke. They weren't even wrapped. But it wasn't just the gifts. It was everything. If Amelia was late, it was because traffic was hell. If I was late, I was irresponsible. If she asked for money, it was for something important. If I did, I was taking advantage. If she cried, he hugged her. If I cried, he said, "Don't be dramatic. You're not a child." Once, when I was about 12, I asked him if he was proud of me. He looked down at me and said, "When you achieve something real, I will be." He had the coldest eyes I've ever seen in my life. Amelia, for her part, wasn't cruel. But she wasn't innocent either. She knew she was the favorite. She used it to her advantage. She treated me with that condescension disguised as affection. "Lou, don't be like that. Dad just wants what's best for you. You need to learn to accept criticism." She said that even when he humiliated me in front of guests for not serving wine, like a proper lady. When I was 18, I earned a partial scholarship to study law. It was a huge achievement, especially since I'd been working at a cafe clearing tables since I was 16 to pay the rest. My mother cried with pride. My father's first words were, "And how much is that going to cost me?" Just a few weeks later, without telling me, my father used my personal information to apply for an extra student loan in my name, supposedly to cover housing costs. In reality, it was to pay off gambling debts. I found out a year later when I received a letter from the bank. When I confronted him, he denied everything at first. Then he said I had signed, without reading properly. He made me feel stupid. He made me believe it was my fault. "That'll teach you not to trust blindly," he said. Trust who? My own father? I promised him I would report him. He laughed in my face. I told Amelia. She left me on read for 2 weeks. When she finally replied, all she said was, "Lou, don't exaggerate. There must be an explanation." There wasn't. From that moment on, I promised myself I'd never let him control any part of my life again. I buried myself in studying, worked extra shifts, turned down parties, turned down help. I learned to do everything on my own. I even slept with a notebook beside me to study before bed. I didn't care, because my goal was clear: graduate, get that diploma, escape that hellish cycle, and prove, even if only to myself, that I was worth something. The ceremony was held in an old Gothic hall, with stained glass windows and oak benches. Very British, very solemn. Professors in robes, slow speeches, parents with cameras, flashes turned off to preserve the dignity of the moment. My mother was seated in the second row, next to Amelia and my father. I'd invited them more out of obligation than desire. But something in me, maybe hope, maybe masochism, wanted to see if, in the end, he'd say something. Something good. When they called my name and I walked up to the stage, I felt light for the first time in years. Like I was floating. I saw the diploma in the rector's hands. I took it, and as I smiled, I heard someone stand up from the audience. It was my father. His voice struck like a slap in the silence. Her? She doesn't deserve this. The one who always put in the effort was Amelia. Louisa just lives complaining and making drama. There was a general murmur. No one knew if it was part of a joke. But I knew him. I knew it was real. That he meant it. I turned, looked at him, and for the first time in my life, I didn't lower my head. Update 1. The words came out of my mouth with more venom than I thought I had inside me. I didn't raise my voice, didn't yell, didn't cry. I just said it. Like someone throwing a stone straight at the center of glass, shattering it with surgical precision. Then let her take care of your debts. For a second, no one understood. But then I saw how my father's face lost all its tension. It was like his skin suddenly loosened. Like I had knocked the breath out of him. Amelia looked at me, confused. My mother turned pale. And he collapsed without even falling. What did you say? He asked, as if he needed me to repeat it, though he had heard it perfectly. I took a step forward. Lifted my chin. You heard me. I won't pay a single penny for your mistakes. Not after everything you made me believe was my fault. If you love Amelia so much, let her fix it. You chose your favorite. Now, let her save you. A murmur rose among the guests. We were in the main hall of the University of Bristol, surrounded by graduates and professors. The event had just ended. Some still held glasses of wine. No one spoke. No one toasted. Everyone stared at the man who, just minutes earlier, had shouted that his younger daughter didn't deserve anything. My father took a clumsy step toward me. Tried to straighten up, but his spine wasn't the same anymore. Neither literally nor symbolically. Louise, you're misunderstanding everything. You shouldn't say those things here. Not after all After all you what? I cut him off, my voice rising half a tone. After you mortgaged Mum's house without telling her? After you took out loans under the company's name, then secretly sold it to cover your personal debts? I saw Amelia now staring at me in horror. What are you talking about? She asked, still in that perfect little voice, as if the truth couldn't stain her. He didn't tell you, Amelia? I went on with a bitter smile. Didn't mention that the reason he wants me to move to Manchester and work with him isn't because he believes in me, but because he needs someone to secure credit restructuring for him? My mother slowly sat down on the bench. She looked like she was about to vomit. My father looked at me like he no longer knew who I was. Lou, why are you doing this? He whispered. Because for 20 years you told me I wasn't enough. I snapped that Amelia was the smart one, the responsible one, the one who deserved everything. I was the one who studied useless things, who dressed wrong, who read feminist nonsense. But now that you're drowning in financial shit, you come to me? Now I'm good enough? Silence. Someone coughed in the back of the hall. Here's the truth. For whoever is reading this, my father owns a construction company. Well, owned. During the pandemic, he started having problems. Projects stalled. Clients stopped paying. But instead of telling the truth, he did what he's always done. Hide, manipulate, disguise. He took out loans under other people's names. Started forging signatures of ghost employees. Sold off company properties to cover personal debts. One of those properties was my mother's house, though she didn't know until the bank sent a letter 6 months later. I found out by accident. I was at my grandparents' house looking for documents to renew my passport when I found a folder with audit reports and printed emails. I confronted him. He yelled, blamed me for invading his privacy. But he didn't deny a single thing. Instead of apologizing, he asked for help. Said he needed someone trustworthy to sort out the paperwork, to handle things so he wouldn't lose everything. He didn't say it like that, of course. He called it financial planning. Translation. He wanted me to use my name and clean record as collateral for his debts. And Amelia? Amelia didn't know anything, or so she claimed, but I have a feeling she did, and just chose not to get involved. Because all our lives, she was the one who never had to get her hands dirty. While I cleaned the kitchen, she went with Dad to golf tournaments. While I busted my ass studying on scholarships, she had a credit card since she was 17. While I cried wondering if I could make rent, he bought Amelia a car because it's safer on the road. And yet now he needed me. I don't understand, Amelia said. Her voice trembled for the first time. What are you talking about? I turned to her. Your wonderful father forged documents to get a loan. Used Mum's name on one, mine on another. Yours? Of course not. He didn't want to risk the princess. My mother sobbed. My father, desperate, shouted, "That's not true. That's not how it happened." But his voice no longer had its old authority. It sounded hollow, broken, like an actor who forgot his lines and is desperately trying to improvise. And then, at that exact moment, a voice from the back of the hall rose above all the rest. "Want me to tell them what you did in 2008, Thomas?" Everyone turned. An older woman, sharp-featured, gray hair, dressed in a wool coat and dark boots. The same woman who had sat silently through the ceremony. My father froze completely. My mother turned to him, horrified. "Who is she?" she asked. He didn't answer. The woman stepped forward. "Do you remember Eliza? Or do I need to spell it out for you?" My father stepped back. "You have no right," he began. "Right?" The woman laughed bitterly. "Like the right you had to take advantage of a 15-year-old girl who cleaned your house? Like the right you had to silence her with money and threats?" Glasses stopped clinking. Someone dropped a plate. My mother covered her mouth with both hands. "Oh my God." And there, for the first time in my life, I saw my father tremble. I saw fear on his face. The real kind. Not the fear of being criticized. Not the fear of scandal. The fear that his image, his power, his total control was over. My mother stood up and slapped him. "Is that true? Is that why you mortgaged everything? Why you're dragging us all down now?" My father didn't answer. He just closed his eyes. And me? I didn't move. I didn't comfort him. I didn't defend him. I didn't justify him. Because for the first time in his life, he was the one who didn't deserve anything. I don't know who else knew. I don't know how many more secrets are buried under his name. All I know is that I'm done paying for his sins. Not with money. Not with silence. Not with loyalty. And if he wants to keep living off appearances, then he'll have to do it without me. Because I'm not his backup daughter. Update 2. Dad called me at 3 a.m. crying. But it wasn't for me. It was for his name. Not even a week had passed since graduation when I received a legal notification in my name. A formal request summoning me as a possible guarantor for a loan that had been submitted by my father with my personal information attached. Without my consent. Yes. He forged my signature. My mother also received another document, a legal warning for the non-payment of a mortgage she didn't even remember signing. We didn't have to do much to connect the dots. He had done it. At some point between 2021 and 2023, my father used our identities to try and save his sinking businesses. As if we were collateral assets. As if we were furniture. I didn't do it out of malice. The call came at 3:17 a.m. I wasn't planning on answering, but something in my body did it for me. "Lou, please. Just listen to me." He was crying, but not like someone who feels guilt. He was crying like a child whose toy had been taken away. I didn't know what to do. No one would help me. "Amelia, she was always good, but she's soft. You were always strong. You're the only one who could forge my signature." I cut him off. Silence. I had no choice. They were going to take everything. They were going to shame me, and you preferred to drag us down with you. I'm your father. I had to protect what I built. You didn't protect anything. Not even Mom. And you know it. My mother went to consult a lawyer. She cried like a child in the waiting room. The advisor told us something that froze the blood in our veins. If it can be proven that the signatures were forged, not only can the loans be annulled, but a criminal case can be opened. Fraud. Document forgery. Identity theft. The word criminal is not said lightly, especially not in a country like England, where the legal system doesn't play around. And Amelia? She distanced herself, blocked Mom and me from the family group chat, posted a photo on Instagram, smiling in her in-laws' countryside garden with a disgusting caption. Sometimes, family isn't blood. It's who really takes care of you. Take care of you? You lived in a bubble, Amelia. Your idea of care is ignoring the rot while you benefit from it. My father called her his only daughter, who doesn't judge him. It didn't hurt me. It relieved me. Final detail, before the worst. A letter, in an envelope with no return address. Inside, a printed copy of an old non-disclosure agreement signed in 2008 between my father and a family from Sussex. The date, the lawyer's signature, and the name of a minor. E.H. I don't know who sent it, but someone wants everything to come out. And if that happens, my father won't fall alone. Update 3. Even if I were drowning, I'd rather Amelia be the one to save me. Not you. He said it in that voice. That same voice as always. Arrogant. Cold. The same voice that told me I talked too much. That I was too intense. That I was a burden. We were in the lawyer's office. Mom, devastated. Me, steady. And him, sitting with his arms crossed like this was a job interview. As if he didn't have both legs buried in the mud. The lawyer had confirmed the signatures on the documents were forged, that prison was a real possibility. He explained everything calmly, respectfully. "If your daughter presses charges, Mr. Hughes, there's not much we can do." He simply raised an eyebrow. "Lou won't do that. She's family." He said it looking at me like I was a soldier, as if carrying his last name was some kind of loyalty contract. "I'm not your shield." "Not anymore," I answered. And that was it. Right then. That's when he said it. "Even if I were drowning, I'd rather Amelia be the one to save me. Not you." My mother, who had been silent for years, finally spoke. "And where is Amelia, Thomas? Where is that perfect daughter you raised like she was made of gold? She didn't call when you collapsed. She hasn't even asked once if you have a place to sleep. And still, you say you prefer her." He didn't reply. He just lowered his gaze, then looked away, as if hearing the truth made him allergic. A few days later, a second envelope arrived. This time it did have a return address, a law firm in Brighton. Inside were copies of emails from nearly 20 years ago, and a scanned receipt with his signature. Some kind of informal agreement to pay a sum of cash to a family in exchange for silence. The subject: a pregnancy, a minor, a scandal that couldn't reach the company he was running at the time. The mother's name: Elizabeth Hayward. That surname wasn't unfamiliar. I looked it up. Elizabeth Hayward is Amelia's mother. My head spun. Memories hit me. How my father refused to talk about Amelia's early years. How there was a stretch of time she didn't live with us. How my mom used to say Thomas's daughter when she was angry. I saw it all with new eyes. My father paid to keep Amelia. Amelia isn't my mother's daughter. She's the daughter of another woman, raised as hers only to protect his career. And now that family wants the truth to come out. I went to confront him. I showed him the evidence. The letters. The receipts. He didn't flinch. "And what are you going to do? Throw me to the wolves? Destroy me because you feel less loved?" "No. You already destroyed yourself." I turned around, but before leaving, I heard him mutter, "You are never good at keeping secrets anyway." The letters keep coming. Someone wants revenge. And it seems like I'm at the center of it all. Even though I don't know why. But I do know this. I'm not going to pay for their sins. Not Amelia's. Not anyone's. And if the next letter is for me, this time I'm going to answer it. Update 4. You weren't a father. You were just a name I learned to let go of. He was arrested in November. Quietly. No handcuffs in sight, but shackled on the inside. 2 officers waited for him outside the club where he used to meet with old partners, pretending his world was still intact. He was formally charged with forgery of documents, unauthorized use of another's identity, aggravated bank fraud. The investigation also revealed he had used the names of 3 other people, in addition to mine and my mother's, to keep up his facade. There were no cameras, no scandal, just a man, alone, old, without allies, and without his favorite daughter by his side. Mom and I. The bank dropped the charges against us after confirming we were victims. We were declared innocent, but emotional damage doesn't disappear with a stamp. Mom sold the house where I learned to stay silent, where I watched Amelia be adored and myself discarded. We moved to a small flat down south, modest, quiet, for the first time, free from his shadow. A prison letter. It arrived 3 weeks ago, written in his rushed handwriting, full of crossed-out words. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just don't want you to hold on to the wrong version of who I was." I didn't even read it all. I didn't need his version. I lived mine. Amelia still hasn't called. She posted an Instagram story on Christmas with a glass of wine and a recycled quote. "Life moves on for those who know how to let go of what no longer serves." I took it as a goodbye. And, as a confession, I went to court on the day of the sentencing. Sat in the last row. He didn't see me, or didn't want to. When the judge sentenced him to 3 years with probation and a criminal record, I saw his back slump slightly. It wasn't a grand victory. It wasn't cinematic, but it was justice. And that, for me, was enough. Because in the end, not all daughters need revenge. Some just need the world to see what they've known all along. That not every man who fathers a child knows what it means to be a father. Thank you for reading. And if you're going through something similar, you're not alone. Your voice matters. Your pain matters too. And you deserve to be free from all of it. Did you grow up in someone else's shadow too? Would you have done the same as I did?